Hi, I'm Jonah with Magnanimous Media, and I'm going to be talking about the Redrock shoulder unit and Mattebox bundle setup for the Red, Scarlet, and Epic. Shoulder support is nearly a necessity to shoot handheld with the Red, Scarlet, or Epic, as it's a fairly heavy camera, and despite its DSLR-like form, it lacks the ergonomics for confident grip. Additionally, with no built-in ND, a Mattebox will be an important addition to this camera for proper image control. Red does offer a dedicated rod and support system for the Scarlet and Epic. The downside of that setup is that it bottoms the rods out on the camera, which means that you have to purchase a number of different rods and switch those out when you switch lenses out that have different lengths. So the benefit of this setup is that it's more versatile when you're switching lenses. The other benefit of adapting an existing system is that many times when you're on a shoot, you might be using the C300 or the F3 as an alternative to or replacing the Scarlet because of its strengths and benefits. So having one system that you can easily adapt to all of those camera systems may be a big benefit and save you some money on the shoot. The primary reason that we have to adapt this system to the Scarlet and the Epic is that the lens sits quite a bit higher than normal cameras. So we use a riser in order to get the rails up to properly align the Mattebox and properly align the follow focus so that it can actually hit the lens gears. In addition to the items included with the Redrock shoulder bundle and Mattebox bundle, the Scarlet Epic adaptation will include a quick-release micro riser and 4-inch, 6-inch, or 9-inch 15mm iris rods. The first thing we're going to do is identify what camera setup we want to use. Now there are essentially 3 different setups that you can use that have different benefits for different situations. The central camera setup is ideal for situations that are almost entirely handheld. It allows for better weight distribution when operating handheld. You can still attach the system to a tripod, but the camera will sit much higher than a typical setup, which will require a more substantial head and affects the look of tilts. The camera forward setup is great for situations that require quick transitions from tripod to handheld, while retaining a system with typical functionality when tripod borne. The drawback of this system is that it puts more weight on the front of the system, requiring greater counterweight for a balanced handheld system. The camera back setup is ideal for using long glass and provides a setup with centralized distribution and minimal weight. This setup is best for long shoots that are primarily handheld with long glass, such as sporting events. We'll start with the central camera setup, which is essentially accomplished by attaching the 15mm low riser directly to the shoulder unit. Start by aligning the 15mm low riser plate with the shoulder unit. First, thread in the 1/4-inch bolt and allow it to go through the first set of threads, but do not begin to thread it into the second. Thread in, but do not tighten, the 3/8-inch bolt. Thread the 1/4-inch bolt into the second set of threads and tighten. Then tighten the 3/8-inch bolt. Insert the 15mm rods into the 15mm low riser and attach the hand grips. Once the camera and lens are attached, you can adjust the hand grips to the desired position. Depending on how much space you have for the counterweight, you may need to change the position of the micro clamp on the cheese block so that the weight can be attached. Use an Allen key to remove the weights from the cheese block. Remove the adjustment bracket. Remove the micro clamp from the adjustment bracket and use shorter bolts to attach the micro clamp to the cheese block. You can then attach the weight. Another benefit to changing the way that your weight is distributed on the back is that it gives you more rod space in the front, more room to adjust where your hand grips sit, and it also allows the weight to be thrown further off the back, which gives you a little bit more leverage when counterweighting the camera. You're now ready to attach the Mattebox and follow focus. Attach the quick release riser to the rods and insert the desired length 15mm rods. Place them so that they sit just behind the end of the lens. The length of the desired rods should be no longer than the length of the lens. Attach the follow focus to the riser. With the riser in place, you can now attach the Mattebox and align it to the lens. So from the central camera position, the riser will allow the follow focus and the Mattebox to hit the lens in the proper way so that you can line up the center of the lens with the Mattebox and also have a fully functioning follow focus. You could also use shims to rise up the clamp on the base plate. The problem with that setup is that you end up having your rods bottom out on the camera, which means that you'll have to have a variety of length rods in order for your follow focus and your Mattebox to be positioned properly and allow for the use of other length lenses. This setup can also be mounted directly onto a tripod, but you have to mount it on the bottom of the shoulder unit. And what that does is put your camera up quite a bit higher, which means you'll need a more robust head on your tripod. And although pans will function properly, tilts will have quite a bit different of a look to them. Both the camera forward and camera back setup will require similar construction. Insert the long set of rods into the 15mm low riser. Attach the shoulder unit and hand grips. You can then attach the camera and the lens. Attach the quick release low riser with the desired length of rods and attach the follow focus and matte box. So the camera forward setup is probably one of the most versatile setups because you can put your tripod plate directly on the bottom of the low riser and then attach this directly to a tripod and take it off quickly and go back to the handheld setup. Again, the downside of this setup is there's quite a bit of weight on the front of the rig, so you'll need more counterweight. So anything you can do to get some of that weight to the back is going to benefit you in this setup. The camera back setup is accomplished by simply placing the 15mm low riser behind the shoulder unit on the rods. So the rear camera setup is going to be great for these longer lenses and keeping the weight more centered over your shoulder. But as you can see, it's not really going to work with shorter lenses because you're not going to have enough rail space to properly align the matte box and the follow focus. The other downside of this setup is that you again have to attach your plate to the bottom of the shoulder unit, which is going to throw off your motion mostly on tilts when you're attached to your tripod, and it's also going to require a more robust head. So those are the three setups that we suggest for the Redrock with the Scarlet and the Epic. For news, new gear, and more videos, follow us on magnanimous.biz.